good morning, depending where you are. My name's Peter, and this is the webinar today. I'm founder of Atomic AMZ, and we're running through the 907% growth roadmap, how we turn $500 into a $1.2 million business on Amazon in only 12 months. We'll also be going through the tariff hurdles, AI changes, and how to still to be profitable in 2025. So let's kick off. So today is about the roadmap for growth. And before we get in there, my name's Peter, founder of Atomic AMZ, and work with AMZScout today to help you guys with this webinar of information and give an example of how we turn $500 into a $1.2 million business. But I think really importantly is the tariff hurdles and AI changes and how to stay profitable. So we're going to mix that up today. We're going to go through some of the key foundations on Amazon, the key work that you need to get right. JP, for 2025, because it's definitely different, especially with the tariffs and AI changes. So let's jump into it today. Look, my name's Peter. This is just some background. I've been on Amazon since 2013, presenting at a conference here in the Pacific. It's actually in Fiji, that one, which was a fantastic opportunity to get to go to a Pacific island to present. And just a bit about me. Look, I'm just a normal dad, 3 kids, and Amazon really allowed to change the lifestyle. We do a lot of overseas traveling now. I think it's a great thing about people know on Amazon. If you're an Amazon seller, you can work from anywhere in the world. Last year we did a few trips. I think we went to Hawaii a couple of times, went to Bali, up to Canada, and Tokyo. I'll just share this because Amazon's it's a platform where you can really work anywhere in the world. And I think a lot of the private label sellers definitely are aware of that. And then look, just about me. So I started on Amazon zero, and I made a commitment to learn. And I spent 15 years of trial and error to discover what I'm going to share today. So I started back in 2013. And I'll go through some of that story. Our best, where we ended in Amazon, our pinnacle was we had an exit to a private equity firm, which was fantastic. So we actually took 3 private label brands of ourselves to all over 7 figures each. And we had to exit. Probably the best morning we had on Amazon. We did $52,000 in 4 hours. It was a back to school deal. And that was a great morning for you. I just want to share with you that we all start from the same position. I just made a commitment to learn and stay ahead and tried a lot of things. And we tried a huge amount of stuff, and not everything goes right selling on Amazon. That's what I want to show you today. But being here today, you're educating yourself. You can shortcut a lot of the mistakes we made. We've made hundreds of $1,000s worth of mistakes. But the view is you make lots of mistakes, but as long as the wins overcome those, then it's fine. But being here today, you're going to be shortcutting a lot of these experiences and really learn. So who's this for today? It's like brands doing over $100,000 a month, looking to break through that plateau and how to scale on Amazon, but also for brands who are strong offline, maybe an impressive retail experience, and they want to translate into success on Amazon. Also, if you're just an Amazon seller and you really want to understand the best ways to grow on the platform and different strategies that you need to implement. And a lot of this work, I just want to tell you from the start, it's about getting the absolute core work done. There's a few foundations you need to get right. People often skip over these, but it's the core foundations that need to work. Until you get the core foundations correct, then the more advanced stuff won't work. I often talk about it as a leaky bucket. People want to be trying to drive rank and traffic, and they're not converting well. So they're driving all this traffic, not converting. You got to make sure you got the foundations right, and that's what we're going through today. And once you have your foundations, you can build a really tall building on top of that to grow your sales. 2025, the big changes. First one, tariffs. What can you do about it? Second one, some of the AI changes, and specifically around Rufus and how you need to look at your listing. And just put in the chat if people have made any changes to their listing because of Amazon Rufus with a search, how it affects search results. This is probably more for Amazon US marketplaces. But just put in the chat if you've made any changes to your listing. Just put a yes if you have, or an if you haven't. If you've made any changes to your listing based on what Rufus is doing in terms of the search results. So just put in the chat now if you've made any changes to your listing based on what Amazon Rufus is doing. Also, just with some product titles, like this is a no-brainer, but I just want to make sure some of the stuff is just put in here so everyone learns and make sure you implement it. And also about reimbursements, costs. People often focus primarily on revenue and I call them vanity numbers, the sales numbers, but costs are just as important. Cost is where you can get really, because you've got to make a profit at the end of the day, and you do have to focus on your costs. And this reimbursement that Amazon's bringing in is really important that you make sure you got the right product costs in Amazon for any lost items. So just want to see in the chat if anyone has made any changes because of Rufus. If you have, it would be great. If you haven't, just put a no in there. Okay, so Tariffs, the first one. These are some of the basics that you want to be doing on Amazon straight away. So the first one is cut poor selling ASINs. So we know at the moment it's changing on a weekly basis. So you've probably seen what's happened over the last few days, and it's the tariffs of 10% have been brought down for the allies, and then the China has been boosted up. I think this morning, yesterday was 125%. I think this morning is 154%. So you really have to work with your suppliers. So the Chinese suppliers will know this, and it's going to be changing a lot over the coming days and weeks. But the first thing you got to do now is really cut poor selling ASINs. Like if you got stuff in there that historically is poor seller, but you get the sales trickle in, you got to cut those off because it's now so much more focus on profitability. And then you want to focus more of those on the winning products and put them in. And the reason if you cut down your poor, increase your winning products, you can go back to your suppliers and get better terms. So if you have a strong relationship, and I highly encourage this, go back to the suppliers and they'll know about the tariffs coming in and say, look, this is part of our strategy. We want to cut back on these ones, but we want to increase these ones. If you can show that you're increasing your order size, you can ask for better terms. And always remember when you ask for better terms that you get your quality assurance checks done. I have had experiences where if you try and negotiate a term without giving them a benefit, just asking for a reduction, they'll not always, but they may find a way to get that money back, and sometimes can by reducing the quality of the ingredients or the parts going into it. So when negotiating the supplier, always look for a win-win. A quick way to do this is cut your poor sellers, increase your winning ones, and increase the order size. So they're benefiting from the order size, and then you're benefiting from a reduced rate. Definitely look into your payment terms. This is a key one if you can extend your payment terms for funding. The reason I say that is just say it takes 45 weeks to get your product made in China, then on the boat again, from time you're ordering till it lands in the US, assuming you're from the US, if you're importing, it's generally 60 to 80 days. But if you can expand your payment terms, this is a really key one. Like people don't think about this. Have great terms with your suppliers and look at your payment terms. So try get as much possible paid when it leaves the warehouse. So maybe a very small deposit than the majority when it's leaving. But also see if your supplier's open to a payment, the final payment when it lands. So this helps your cash flow going through. There's some basic ones, but one I'd recommend is Sinosure. So this is a Chinese government-run insurance company where you pay a very small amount, like maybe 0.8%, and they can give you up to 90 to 120 days funding. The reason I say that is because of the tariffs, you got to work out for your cash flow. Now, more money is going to have in your pocket. So if you can do this and get 120 days payment terms, so from the time the product leaves China, you get 120 days. It's probably going to arrive in America after 30 days. So then you've got 90 days to sell through your inventory. So for 0.8%, so if you just say you do a $100,000 purchase order for $800, you can normally get payment terms of 120 days. So you pay $800, you got 120 days, so 4 months. And often you can sell through the majority of your stock. So you're having no impact to your cash flow. This is really important when you scale later on. It's something I put in terms of the tariffs to extend the payment terms. But when you're scaling very fast, often your profits won't cover your ability to increase stock. So if you're running a 30% margin and you're growing at 30% a year, all your profits need to go into buying additional stock to keep up with growth. And if you want to be growing at 50 to 100%, you need to get some sort of payment terms. I know Amazon offers payment terms, but this is one I'd highly recommend that you do. And this allows you to scale. And this is the one that allowed us, we were growing about 100% a year for 4 years. And we made a video about this the other week where we went, I won't give you the exact numbers, but it was started at very small, 250, 500, 1 million, 2 million, and it kept going like that 100% a year. And this was a key way we were able to do it. The other one is just double check your tariff codes. You may actually be paying a higher tariff than you need to. The easiest way to do this, there's some websites out there, but if you just use ChatGPT, put in a prompt, just basically what you need to do is describe your product, even provide a link to it, talk about the current tariff code you're using, and double check that it's the right tariff code. Working with sellers, we found that about 20% of people are using the incorrect tariff code and actually paying higher tariffs. So I highly recommend you double check this. I know you may have got this from your factory in China, but double check this one to make sure it's the right one. There's some real basics what you can do around your tariff. So free up your cash flow with first one, work with the supplier to get a discount on your product, generally through reducing your poor sellers, more top sellers. Second one is get extended payment terms. That helps with tariffs, but also with your cash flow, especially when you're growing. And then double check all your tariff codes and make sure you're doing the right one. Some of the changes now is, and if there's any questions, we've got a Q&A at the end, so feel free to, we've got time for a Q&A at the end. With some of the AI changes, there's a whole bunch of work you can do with AI outside of Amazon in terms of imagery, video, SEO, but they're things outside of Amazon. These are ones that are based on Amazon. So if you notice on Amazon US, Rufus now, so it's this little thing here, you'll notice it much more obvious. Rufus is using a whole bunch more data points to deliver search results. So the first thing you have to do is go to your backend and make sure all the backend attributes are being completed. One of the easiest ways is on the dashboard. If you go down and you'll see that there's a review opportunities, that will show the basic ones, but go through your actual backend and look through all the different keyword fields like weight, size, purposes, how to use it. Because what Rufus does now is it scrapes all that data in the back end and makes more decisions. So when people put in keywords in to search for your product, it definitely scrapes the back end now. Amazon always had this in the back end, but the Rufus now definitely uses this as part of the delivery. So first basic step is hygiene. Go through for your, and I recommend the Pareto rule. So work out your top 20% of sellers, 20% of your SKUs that make 80% of sales. Go through the back end, and if you have a team or it's just yourself, go through those back ends and the top seller and make sure they're all populated out. The second one now is that Rufus is much more contextual descriptions. So very basic description terms are now moving away from Amazon, and it's much more based on longer tail keyword descriptions. So it's really important when you go through in your product listings that you have real use case examples. So if someone needs to use an iPhone for a specific example, like maybe they use they're selling it, turning about the features of the camera, you need those long-term descriptions and pass a longer tail weren't as common in the search results. Amazon's now using the longer tail keyword results much more. The other one is Rufus is now reading the imagery for keywords. So it can't read videos just yet as the time of this webinar, but it is reading the images. So in terms of your images now, you need to go through and think of longer tail search terms that people may describe or how the product's used in more detail and add that as text overlay to the imagery. Now you want to make this so it's readable. And this one here, it says like portable massage therapy for relief anytime, anywhere. So you need to go through here and now look at your imagery and rethink. You got to make sure that the image relates to the description, because when someone views it, it has to match up. But now Rufus will start taking that and putting that in. So you can actually see here with Rufus, it's actually pulled up an image about the product and put in the results. So first step with Rufus, make sure all your back end's done. That's the basic hygiene. Second one, look at your imagery for text overlay and go through what are the top, if you go through the Q&A section on Rufus, look at the most common ones and those questions, make sure you got those answers in your imagery. A really good space for this as well is your A+ premium content. It's actually got a FAQ section you put in. That's really helpful for this as well. And also answer real customer questions as part of it. So Rufus, you got to go through your Q&A, frequently asked questions. You got to make sure that you've got very detailed responses in there. If someone's got a question through the Q&A section, make sure you go through and write very detailed, long answers on there because it gives Rufus more data to scrape. So even if they ask a basic question, answer that basic question and then answer it with additional information that could help the customer, because all that now is part of the search results. So what's happening with Rufus and the AI is previously it was more on it was a much narrower base on what the keywords and search terms were. Now Rufus has expanded that significantly more. So it's up to yourself or your team to really go through and understand those additional long tail questions and give Amazon that information. The way you give that information is through the back end imagery, and the Q&A section to do it as well. And if you aren't aware of it, here's some examples where Rufus appears in different spots. You can see up the top here, down here, just so if you're aware of it. So guys, just in the chat here, just put a yes or a no. Put a yes if you're using the text overlay on imagery that answers some of your top queries that customers would use. Just put a yes if you're doing that, put a no if you're not. I just want to see feedback from people if they're aware of the impact of just text overlays on the imagery. It'd be great to hear that. Great. Thanks, Brett. Thanks, Eric. Great. So it looks like there's some really good opportunity there around that. Also, just some, this is like a real basic one. Like Amazon's made it official, keyword stuffing, big no-no. So for 3+ years, like if you see the keyword stuffing, I can tell straight away what sort of person's written a listing. You should have moved away from this 3+ years ago, the keyword stuffing, but Amazon's now got an official policy where if you use the same word more than twice, it actually will update your listing for you and remove it out. So some examples here, like soft dog plus dog toys, it appears more than twice. Sorry, this one's twice. This one's more than, this is 3 times. So just some basic hygiene stuff, but Amazon's cracking down on this stuff now. So it's really important to understand that. Okay, now reimbursements. Amazon's made a lot of changes to its reimbursements. You probably know recently about the window for reimbursements. There was a very long window in the past. I think it used to be up to 13 months, and now they've removed that to a much shorter window for reimbursements. So one step Amazon did, I think it was late last year, is they shortened the window for reimbursements. I'd recommend everyone use a tool that auto reimbursements for anything that goes missing. Very simple to do. That's just 101 on Amazon selling. Make sure that's automated system. But what they've done now is Amazon actually wants to know your sourcing costs. So in the past, you'd upload your manufacturing costs or your purchase order to know how much it would cost. Actually, now Amazon, if you look in here, it's called manage your sourcing cost. And you actually need to go and upload. Like Amazon's being really on the front foot about this. You have to go and upload your costs to show what they're going to do. Otherwise, what they're going to do is they're most likely going to use a low amount. So as Amazon said, pretty much if you don't tell us up front what your costs are, we're going to assume it's on a much lower rate. So this is not officially said, but from what we've spoken to with other top sellers that we work with and know, is that this is something you need to focus on in terms of your reimbursements, that we have this. So if you go in manage your sourcing costs, I just got a screenshot here of what the process looks like to share that through. So guys, just interesting, just put a yes or a no if people are aware of the change in Amazon's reimbursement, where you have to be proactive in terms of your sourcing costs. Just be good to know so I can sort of tailor the rest of the presentation. Right. Great. Thanks, Brett. Good to hear. Thanks, Roy. Okay, so now what we want to go through today is launching brands on Amazon, some of the key foundations, world-class listing, and some of the key PPC metrics we want to share. And this stuff is really about getting the fundamentals right. Some of the biggest increase you get in sales is by getting the fundamentals right. People often say to me, well, I want to increase my sales. And it's like, you can do some super, super basic stuff that's going to make a much higher increase in your sales. And just whenever you're working on your sales on Amazon, people think, okay, shall I be doing content creator work, driving external traffic, Amazon attribution to a landing page with Facebook ads, using AI and doing a lot more upload videos. You always want to step back, and it just comes down to 2 levers. What's your conversion rate and how much traffic's coming in? Normally off Amazon, it's also how much people buy per order. That's a 3rd metric, but on Amazon, you have less control about how much people buy per order versus like Shopify. That's so Amazon, the 2 key ones, conversion and traffic. That's any diagnosis you do, that's where you want to start. And if your sales aren't hitting your target, you've got a conversion issue or you've got a traffic issue. And I'll run through that today for you guys. Okay, so look, the foundation of creating a world-class listing is having a listing that stands out. And this is something that you really want to make sure you nail, because the key to selling on Amazon is stopping the scroll. That's the very first step is your traffic, is stopping the scroll. So how do we create that world-class listing that stands out? Look, what we suggest is two things here. Really great rendered images, split test against the competition until yours wins. I just want to give an example here to do it. If you look at these ones here, if you're scrolling through these ones here, notice like these take up, and I know Amazon says it's only meant to be 80%. This probably takes up 90% of the imagery versus this one down here. They've done it like a landscape one. This is how you want to do it, but I'll show you over page even better. And even for very advanced sellers doing over 7 figures a month, these are the basics you got to get right and continually test against this with your competition. So an example here, turmeric, world-class image. Basic one on the left, something just like adding, just put in the chat like there's two key differences on this image. I just want to make sure that we're capturing the differences. Just put in the chat if people can see the two main differences in these before and after pictures. Okay, so the two key ones going through here, packaging always makes a difference. And I know people talk about, yep, and actually you're correct. There's a third one. There's a resolution as well. Packaging, I know Amazon borderline in terms of service, but the top sellers do this. Packaging gives credibility, shows it actually makes the product look larger on the screen, but also what you get in there as well, the actual tablets. I know it's a capsule, but it makes such a difference actually people knowing what they're going to get. And the resolution of it, definitely rendered images, packaging, capsules. The reason I say this is you actually want to split test this work. One of the key things we recommend, that the key thing on Amazon I want to get through you, it's stopping the scroll. So Amazon's like a big search engine for buying the products. It's transactional sites. People often go off on Google, get information. Okay, this will solve my problem. Then they go to Amazon to find it, and they go to the search result and they just scroll down. The two big things that capture people's attention, and it's called stopping the scroll, is reviews and imagery. Reviews, you don't have as much short-term control over. That's much of a long-term bin. Imagery, you got total control over. I'll give you an example. When one of our products that we sold to the private equity firm, we went through 12 main image variations until we got it right. So the reason I did this is what we went through is, this is just an example here. Someone just had the airplane product. Someone had the airplane with the packaging. We just went off Google Forms, super easy. 67, so almost 70% of people said this would be more likely to click on than this one. So the reason I share this with you is that you really need to focus on the main image and stopping the click. This is going to have the biggest impact. If you can take one thing away, this will have the biggest impact, including increasing your traffic and click-through rate. And it has a whole bunch of other benefits. It improves your PPC because it's a higher click-through rate. You get a higher conversion. So this is like the one that leads all the other ones down. And give you an example of this. One of our products, we did 12 different images until we could beat the competition. So what we did our first image against competition, we didn't beat it. Did our second image against competition, didn't beat it. And we got to about the 9th or 10th image and we couldn't beat it. And I couldn't work out what was going on, because this is such an important thing. Because if you're not going to get the click through, you're not going to get any sales, because unless people actually go into your listing, they're not buying. What it came down to, we realized at the end, was our product was blue, competitor was black. We actually made it blue to stand out. We wanted to actually stand out against everyone else. So when you scroll down, they say, oh, blue one, everyone else is black, you stood out. But because of the industry it is in, people wanted to have like authority, high quality. And what we found out doing this was that people did not see blue as professional and high quality. They saw black and grey as professional and high quality. So what we did by the 12th time, we changed the product so we mocked this up from blue to black, and we won the click-through by testing it. So we went through 12 different iterations till we did it. Once we got the 12th iteration and then we'll be in the competition, that's when this actual sales went up. So we could have done all the work in the world with our secondary images, with external traffic, with PPC. Nothing would have worked as well as getting the main image sorted out. And that's why I want to go through this one to explain how to do it. Also, some of the wins you want to do is mobile has such a high amount. You want to do ratios of 4 to 5. So if you look at this one, this is ratio 1 to 1, better desktop. The smart guys, 4 to 5 ratio. So if you're not doing 4 to 5 ratio, redo your main image and work on 4:5 ratio. It definitely makes a difference. You scroll through your mobile and it takes so much more space on there. Then if you got that, and then you've got like a deal or a coupon as well, it actually takes up even more space. You can get about 20% more space on your page. So the reason I really want to focus on this one is that Amazon puts conversion as one of the key criterias for keyword rank. And the higher conversion you're going to get, the lower cost per click. And higher conversion also means you're going to be more likely to win the ad auction on page one. So basically what you want to do is, it's like a process through. People want to come down and see you, you got to get them to click through. That's step one. So that's a main image. The next step you want to do is get people to convert and to buy. Once you do that, Amazon puts a huge amount of focus on conversion rates. So that's why a higher conversion rate you're going to get, you're going to go up the ranking for those keywords that people are searching on. But also your PPC is going to work a lot better as well. The reason being, Amazon doesn't give PPC weighting to equal to all people. You can bid for words, for example, massage gun for men, and you may be bidding $4. Someone else could be bidding $2. But if their product gets a high click-through rate, that main image, they convert, they're going to pay a lot less than you as well. So that's why it's super important to get through that. And I'm going to go through that in the next steps. So understand your buyer's intent. So what's the reason your customer's buying for you? So you're going to make some notes. I highly suggest this page here. Main image is about traffic. Main image is going to get you click-through rate. High click-through rate equals lower PPC cost as well, because the ad auction does consider click-through rate. Amazon doesn't want to give you the impression if you're going to like click-through rates. They miss out on the money, they don't get the click, and they miss out on the money for the sale. So main image, you'll get a high click-through rate. Then the listing images is about conversion. So step one, get them to click through. Step two, get them to convert. But you got to understand who your buyer is. This is where it comes down to, what's your buyer's intent? Why are they buying your product? So really take time to understand who your customer is and who your avatar is. And you got to put them into the imagery and them having using the product. And the reason I bring this up is I see people have products on Amazon, and they just take the product and put it with different text overlay or different backgrounds, or maybe some different AI, but they don't actually have that emotional connection. So you really got to understand who your buyer is and why they're buying it. If it's a joint discomfort for dogs, very basic. Have unhappy dog black and white looking discomfort, happy dog on the other side with a product. And then what you also have is unhappy dog can't walk with the lead, happy dog walking with the owner. You really got to put in who your avatar is and that imagery, and makes such a difference. And I just want to go through some of these examples here. And you got to understand your buyer's intent. Like this one here, understand that the bullet points versus on the right-hand side. So bullet points are 50% ranking and 50% conversion. That's why the keyword stuffing, stay away from it. It doesn't work. Yes, you have to have the right keywords in there, but you also have to use it, especially with roofers, in terms of how do these convert for you. So the rules to live on: main image has to be world-class, get rendering if possible, and you have to split test it. What I suggest is take your image, competitor. Do you win? No. Okay, update it, get feedback. What do they like about it? What do they like about the competitor? Second image, your one versus competitor. Did you win? No. What's the feedback? What do they like about theirs, yours? Keep doing that until you beat them. That's a very first step and the most powerful one you're going to get. Secondary image is all about conversion. There must be real people. They're not photoshopped. They're not stretched people. Real people using the product, because it's all about that credibility. If you're using an image and it's photoshopped and someone's stretched, the subconscious just says, how can I trust this product if they can't even put time into doing great imagery? And then conversion is king. Build around your avatar. And now also understand Rufus. You have to really build out your back end, your imagery, all the Q&A, because Rufus now reads all that information. So when there's long tail keywords, that's what's going to be presented if you can be indexed for those long-term questions. And I've got some examples over the page of this. So product here, left-hand side, it shows you everything you get in there. So it has a phone holder, the actual what's on the slides, it has a user guide, all these additional ones. In terms of being compliant, you have to be careful with these ones. And this is what a competitor was doing, very basic. So you really got to think, okay, main listing, what can I do to get the click. So if you went through the listing here, if you saw this one here, you go, whoa, this looks like it gets a lot versus just a very basic one. And then the secondary images is around who are the people using this product and the buy intent on the imagery now. So some of these can have improvements in terms of the size of the writing, but you can actually see someone. So they're using this is an ideal buy. They work out, they stretch, and then they need to, because they're doing all the exercise and they have the stiff muscles. Then they use it, and it also tells you about the how long it lasts. But now with this one here with Rufus, you do a much longer description. So you'd say, okay, probably 6 to 8 words that answers a long tail search term. And this is what I was talking about before. If you're an advanced seller, like this is just a no-go. I just want to put it here to emphasize, like you can't have this standard of imagery. If you look at this, if someone's got one of these ones here, people aren't buying from it. It almost makes you laugh at saying, well, these guys are sort of walking through a pool of water. You can just tell it's so photoshopped. Like that looks like someone's been on the beach. You have to have that world-class standard. And these are the foundations. Once you get this right, all the stuff on top of it is what makes the business grow. And then I talk about conversion is king. So build your listing for your avatar. So what I recommend here, so you can see this one here is for teenagers, and you need to get the effort of working out who your avatar is. So in this one here, there's actual separate products, a product for teenagers and a product for kids here. And you look at this one here, the main reason being, if you go through, if a teenager is buying this would resonate with them. They say, yep, this is the stand I'm after. This is the phone I'm using. If a teenager saw this one here, they're going to say, nah, this looks too basic for me. It's not the right one. That's why you really got to build around for your avatar. This one's pretty much the same product, but build out for different audiences. Now, guys, just want to understand, just from the audience, people listening in here, how many people actually have an avatar description of their bio? Like, how many people here, just put a yes, they've gone and written out a client avatar, such as my client avatar is Jenny. She's 30 to 40-year-old mum. She has to juggle looking after the kids. Just put a yes or a no in the chat, because this is super important, because without an avatar, you can't build out your imagery. And then if you have in-house graphic designer, or if you use an external party, a graphic designer, they're not going to know what imagery is going to be after unless they give you a document. So you see this before. Someone says, oh, the listing doesn't feel on brand. Well, I don't know why it's converting. I say, okay, who's your client avatar? And they go, oh, we don't have one. I say, okay, what are your branding guidelines? What color? Oh, we don't have one. So unless you got that avatar, it's going to be very hard to get that feel for your listing, and it has to be consistent the whole way through. So basically what you want to see is someone goes to Amazon, caught their eye, they click through to you. They're on your listing. Oh, yes, that's my pain. Yes, I have that pain. I have that issue where my dog has really sore joints, and I see the solution. It's a happy dog. I can normally go for the walks now. So that's super important to get that done. I highly recommend, one of the actions you take here is build out your client avatar. Often when people sit on Amazon, people think there's shortcuts. We don't need to go through this whole life cycle. We put it on there. We do all the ranking. We do all the keywords. We do all the PPC. You still have to take a step back and say, this is a proper brand. I'm a brand owner. Who's our avatar? Once you have that, it makes it so much more easier. When you go, if you ever go to run Facebook ads, or you're running your Amazon brand headline ads or video ads, you know who your avatar is, you know what it should look like, and then it's consistent across it. Because if you then move graphic designers, if you don't have one in-house, they'll have different branding feel. You need to have the avatar, the brand guidelines for this. Now, foundation 2 is about building the review strategy. Just to give you some insights about this, like the minimum you need on Amazon is 4. And I just want to give you some benchmarks. If you're under 4 and you want to aim for 4.5, above 4.5 means you've got very good trust. People love your product. It's a winner. If you're under 4, don't blame Amazon for this. You've got a material problem with your product. Often you hear people saying, oh, I've got a 3.7 star rating on Amazon. I hate selling on Amazon. I get all these bad reviews. Don't take that approach. It means that either what you're communicating doesn't meet the expectations of the customer. So they think they're getting something based on listing, and what they get is different, or there's a material problem with the product, maybe product quality issues, it's not clear. So review this as an opportunity to improve it. So go through, if you have anything under 4 star, it's going to be very, very hard to be able to get sale for that product, because it just doesn't have credibility. Reviews are one of the most highest parts outside the listing and imagery we talked about for credibility, because you can't fake the review quality. Once you have a big seller and you've got 5, 6, 10, 20,000 reviews, you can't fake that. if you got 10, 20 people, there's ways around it, but you have to have over 4.5. So I just want to share that about that. And I just want to show you some examples of AMZScout, how to use this. Some really good tools for it. So if I just go through here, just want to make sure. Okay, so this is the AI tool that AMZScout has. Just put a yes in the chat if you use AMZScout. Just put I want to see how many people use it, because there's some really great things here. So this is just an insight for it. It's actually got a tool that looks at the reviews, but also this one's fantastic for looking at opportunities. I was looking at this as can I move? This is a microscope here. And this was really great. It says, hey, this product doesn't have variations. Great. Upgrading features such as digital connection. And it's also got improvement ideas as well, such as you may want to expand out to the education market, universities, things like that. So I highly recommend going through and look at the AI tool in AMZScout for product insights, because we'll actually go through some of the opportunities and threats as well of the market. But there's also one in terms of review, and it'll analyze the reviews and give you ideas and insights for that, which is fantastic. Just want to make sure, just put in the chat that you guys actually saw the product improvement slide there. So like for that microscope, it says, hey, there's an opportunity to expand to schools. Great, thanks for that, Brett. And also said, hey, this is an educational one. Look at building an app for it as well. So if you did those ones there, like building out an app, it would be a fantastic way to do it. But I highly recommend that the reviews, it's a key point to look at. So generally the 2 and 3 stars are the best. Normally a 1-star review, someone's just venting, they're not happy with it. You got to look at the 2 and star reviews, use some of the features that show them, and just see if there's an issue with the product or expectations aren't being met. It's either one of the two. You may be claiming that you're selling a massage gun, and on your description it says, hey, remove any knot or issue within 2 minutes. And people get a massage gun and it won't remove in 2 minutes. So it's about setting the expectations. And that's why you need to know your customer avatar, because if you do your imagery and your description of what your avatar's pain is and what their outcome is, so if they can describe that, and you'll go to the dog examples, the dog's in pain because it's got sore knees, you sell it a joint one, then it improves it. It's probably worth, in that example, setting expectations. So in that one, if you know it takes, to say it's 30 days for the dog to feel relief, you got to put that in there to set the expectations. Because if someone says, hey, your dog will be like an image, dog feels great after 7 days, people see that one there, they buy the product, they give it to the dog, they expect the dog to feel great after 7 days, but it takes about 30 days for the dog to feel great. People are going to give you a 1-star review because they're going to say, oh, use the product, dog's still in discomfort, it's been 7 or 10 days. So that's where you're going to understand what the pain, the expectation is, and line them up. So look at your reviews. Don't blame Amazon for reviews. Make sure you're meeting expectations, you're solving the pain and providing a solution. I'll just give you an example of this. What you can do about it. Definitely inserts where they can have an extended warranty. And the reason I say that, it has to be a legitimate extended warranty as well for Amazon customers. And then you can put an email in there and you can do an auto reply when they register and say, look, if there's any issues with that, we have a full warranty. And you can put some of the expectations down in there as well. One thing we found, this is the best one we worked, and this is like level 1. Level 2 is a step higher. One thing in terms of explaining expectations, people often get products, and this is where something's not always as easy to use. We put together an instruction guide. It ended up being 32 pages, I believe, for a chemistry kit. And no one else was doing this at the time. Everyone just sell the chemistry kit, go get started. We went through and provided a bunch of instructions, and then we also had videos as well. So people's expectation was that they're going to get the molecular kit, some instructions, but we actually went to the effort of showing the instructions and actually made videos for it. And the competition wasn't doing this, and it took them about 2 years to catch up. And this was the #1 seller in that category, especially during Christmas time, and it made such a difference for it. So Brett, that's great. So Brett, yeah, you got a great detailed insert. So yeah, definitely look at the instructions. And what I'm finding now is going to the next level, like things like even the education space or even fitness ones. If you can build some apps that go for it, and this is next level, it brings that customer connection that you can't normally get, and you start really building that brand around it. And if you look at the results of this, I think it was 4.7 stars, over 7,200 reviews. This is probably a bit older. But what we did, there was some product issues. So this was an example of where we went through the 1, 2, and 3-star reviews. We went through it here, and we found that see this box here up the top, the lid was actually not staying on. So some people put a rubber band around it. So we built a nice carry case that could come around it so it wouldn't open up. People said that it wasn't clear on how to do it. Did they get enough pieces? Were they missing? So we did that world-class user guide. And I think we gave it a no question back warranty. I think there was something in the warranty where even if you lose a piece, we'll replace it no charge. And what we actually did, we just bought these small pieces up the top. It's super cheap. But no one offered that. So people just absolutely love this product because people lose these things. And you may get 1 in 100 people claiming that they lost a piece, get a free one back, and it costs us next to nothing, but people absolutely loved it. And this is what Amazon's brought out recently as well, is the customer review. So this is just some of the basic stuff. Make sure you're aware of Amazon. It changed the processes up for a long time. Years ago, you could easily get reviews removed, and Amazon made it very hard. Now you can actually reach out to them. It's a template, but you can actually reach out to them, and you must have brand registry. So one of the key things about selling on Amazon, if you're a brand doing 100,000 more a month, brand registry is a must, a trademark. I recommend any seller on Amazon who's doing private label has aspirations to go 7 or 8 figures. You must have the trademark. Brand registry has so many benefits. It's something you need to do. Look, I also want to go through the keyword and ranking and some of the key steps to ranking. And this is about the traffic. So remember at the start, we talked about Amazon is about 2 things. It's about conversion and about traffic. So conversion is about imagery, having that connection with the customer. What's their pain? How do you solve it? Doing that world-class listing. Then making sure your reviews aiming for 4.5. So they're the key ones for conversion. Great product, great association, great reviews. And you have to have a world-class product. In business anywhere, unless your product's world-class, you're not going to survive. And people say, I've got a product and it's not working. You look at the reviews and you say, well, you're not going to be a success. So you make sure the product's world-class, resolve any issues that you have, and you normally resolve them in the first 6 to 12 months if you're going direct to Amazon. But if you had outside Amazon, you have them resolved. And then it's about traffic. So when I talk about traffic, it's like climbing Everest is a description. You got to work out where in the product life cycle are you? Are you launching, growing, mature, declining? And there's 4 different phases. And depending which phase you're there, depends on which keywords you're going to go after. So it's sort of like you go up, you have a rest, a little bit of a drop back, and then you go for the next one. But you got to work out where in the product life cycle you are. If you're just launching, you can't go for the super high volume keywords because that's where the mature guys are going. And if you go after those and try to rank for them, you're not going to convert because the customer reviews will give a more highly likelihood of giving the mature seller the sale, unless their imagery and their connection with the pain and problem isn't world class, and you've got something that's world class. It's still possible, but it's much harder. So when I go through here, I talk about the Everest. You sort of start out at base camp, and this is when you're launching, then you're growing, then you become mature, and then at the end, then you can see a decline. So there's 4 cycles when you're selling on Amazon. Just put in the chat here if people actually look at their products and understand what life cycle they're in. So they go through their products and say, okay, I'm in the launching phase, and I've got this strategy. I'm in the growth phase, I've got this strategy. I'm in the mature phase, I have this growth strategy. And this growth strategy is mainly around PPC and the imagery listing. Great, thanks, Brett. Really good input, because depending on what phase you're in is depending on your listing, and there's different strategies you use. For example, when you're just growing, what we recommend or launching is that you find a key avatar market. So you niche it down super low, and I'll show you some examples here. So you niche it down and focus all your listing on that keyword that you know will bring traffic. And then once you've got that one, you look at the next keyword and avatar. And that's why at the start I talked about you must know your avatar, because then you can build out your listing. So what I'll show you next is how it can change slightly depending on what phase you're in. So launching new product on there, growth, you're going up, maturity, the top keywords. And the main thing per cycle is what keywords you're targeting in terms of search volume. Okay, so what I'm going to use here is AMZScout and just show you some of the keyword relevancy tools and how it works, and using the reverse ASIN lookup. I'll just go into the screen now. So it's super simple what you do here. You go into here, so this is under reverse ASIN lookup. You go in here, you add your ASINs here, which I've already done here. So you add in your ASINs, and then you hit your favorite one. And what it does is it brings back these results. And what you want to look at here is keyword effectiveness. So keyword effectiveness is how likely is this relevant towards your product and how well it's going to convert. So what you want to do is look for anything 10, or the green one says, I think it's 8 and above. I suggest they're the hot topics. So you want to look for ones that are 8, 9, 10. They're fantastic. And then what you want to do here is you go across and you look at the average keywords. So you look for a high effectiveness and then average keywords. So these are sales that come from that, related to that keyword here. So looking at the microscope before, so microscope for kids, depending on what phase you're in. If you're in the mature phase, you look for the high search ones. If you're launching, look for much lower ones. But what I want to do is find a sweet spot. So I'll look at the keyword effectiveness here. And so this one's an 8, which I looked at. The keyword trends down slightly. It's got medium volume. So this is more for the growth, probably more around the growth side. But what I look across here is super low CPC, which is fantastic, but the average keyword sales from this is really high. So this brings in a lot more sales, this keyword, than other keywords that have higher traffic. So just in the chat, just put a yes if you're getting this. So what you're looking for is high keyword effectiveness. So high keyword effectiveness means that keyword's going to convert well. And then average keyword sales is how many sales you can expect for that. So high keyword effectiveness and then high keyword sales. And then what I suggest from here is what you do then is, as this is an example here, just say you go into here, reverse ASIN lookup, and then you put in your ASINs here. So you put in your ASINs, already done this one, so it's already preloaded. Super simple to do. And then, sorry, I'm just going over here. And then what you do here, see, you got the bacteria. So this one here, high, tick the box. Search volume, this is probably a good one for the launching phase. But keyword sales are fantastic. And this is a bonus, very low PPC. So what I'd actually do here, bacteria microscope, I'd actually go through. So this is if I'm in growth, launching, it may be a bit of a too much because of the keyword volume. I'd probably go for something under 1,000 if I'm in launching. If I was in mature, then I'd look at even the higher ones here. This is an outliner, microscope for phone. I look for even the higher ones. But what I'll do here is I'll go back to the listing. And then let's just go back to here. I'd actually work out my avatar. So I'd go back to a listing here and really build it out for that keyword. So if you got something like this here for the microscope, I'd really build out a listing here around bacteria for microscope. So how can you build your avatar so it's someone who wants to use a microscope to look up bacteria? Because that's what someone's going to do here. And what's going to happen is that you're going to be the product that for anyone who's searching for bacteria for microscope, that's going to be your product. So I'm just this one here. So it's got really good keyword effectiveness. So you know you're going to convert on this term. It's a really good converting term. It's at 8, which is fantastic. Plus it's got an outline, a high amount of sales versus its keyword traffic. So I'd actually go through and say, okay, this is the best one I can see. Because if you look at some of the other ones that are along here, they don't have nearly as much average sales. Or you may want to say, okay, let's go down here and look at microbiology microscope. And what you want to do is then build out your listing. So what I'd suggest is then you track. So it's got also here, it's fantastic AMZScout. So you can actually track your keywords. So put this as your keyword tracker. Build out your listing. So what you have to do, main imagery, if you can change it for that, do it. It may be a bit hard. Then all the secondary image is all about bacteria for microscope. And then you put that in your keywords. And then your PPC is based around this and all the variations of these type of terms. So this would be an exact one, but then you'd also want to do a broad and negative exact that one. Plus your video, then you'd also make video as well based around this. So that's the key point in terms of the Everest. So then what you do then, that's your growth phase. And then you'd look at, okay, what's the next phase after that? Just put in the chat if people use that as a strategy where they build out. So this is more for launching and growing. Once you get to mature, and what I'm defined by mature is you're at the top 1 or 2 sellers in the marketplace. And AMZScout's got tools for this as well. If you go to AMZScout, he'll actually show you the the revenue for the market size, which is fantastic. Like if you actually go up the top here, you'll actually show you how big the marketplace is, the sales. So if you're in mature, you're the top 1 or 2 sellers in that marketplace. If you're not, then you're either declining, which you know by checking your sales, or you're in the growth phase as well. So if you're in growth or launch, it's all about defining those sub niches of your avatar. So what I suggest is go through AMZScout, look at those ones there, look at the keyword effectiveness, go back to here, logging for it. What are these ones that you can build around? And you probably need to do this for 30 days. So once you build it out, then you need to use a keyword listing tracker. You need about 30 days to do it. And the way you get the more traffic, listing, imagery, and then the PPC part. So they're the 2 elements. You have to build your listing around that sub niche, use the PPC to track it to get your ranking up, and then use your keyword tracker. You want to make sure that you're ranking. You have to be in the top 10. If you're on the top 10, you're not going to be getting sales for those keywords. And generally, I find that you have to be in the first 4 spots. But remember, generally the first 4 spots are PPC ones. Just as a bonus tip for this one as well, you really want to focus on one of these keywords at a time. So the whole listing, the whole PPC strategy, the whole imagery during that growth is around 1. Once you get to the mature phase, so you're in the top 1 or 2% sellers. So just say that the market revenue per month is 250,000 and you're doing 100,000 for that one ASIN. That's when the listing becomes more broad. So your avatar covers more of the top keywords. One thing I'll just share here as well is a bit of a tip. If there's a major issue you ever have, and you just find that your sales drop off, often your keyword indexing. So if you go under here and you look up keyword tracker, this one here, microscope for adults, very important term. And see this one here, it hasn't been indexed for it. So if you ever find, this is a bit of a pro tip, ever find that you've had an issue with your listing just drops off, either your listing's gone down or the keywords have stopped being indexed. Maybe the category's been changed, Amazon's done something. That's why I highly recommend with AMZScout, use keyword tracker. You want to track all your top keywords. And normally on a weekly basis, just go in here once a week, just make sure there's no issues with the indexing. But it's a super important tool and strategy and a bit of a pro tip just want to share with you guys. So I haven't seen any comments. Just let me know. Just put in the chat what phase you're in. Are you launching, growth, mature, or declining? Just want to see where people are at the moment. Okay, so it looks like in the growth and revamping area. So just went through a couple of examples there. One other one I'd highly recommend, search volume history. One of the key strategies I recommend in Amazon, plan out your calendar. So have a 12-month calendar. Amazon's pushing so much more for monthly events. So in the past, there was tier 1 events, Amazon Prime, Black Friday, so Monday. Now there's Amazon Prime 4. Pretty much Amazon now is, and Brett, yeah, we can in the Q&A we can go through some of the questions. Amazon now is pretty much having an event per month, but you got to look at the search volume as well, because you got to actually plan out your inventory, your sales period, what keywords you want to go after. So definitely use search volume history when you're analyzing your product, or also looking at opportunities. PPC, just put in the chat here, who here runs their own PPC and who here either like has an agency or a freelancer or someone in their team do it. Just put in the chat if you do it yourself, just write me. And if someone else does it, like a freelance, an agency, great, Brett. Just put other. It'd be really interesting to see how people run their PPC. Right. Okay. So PPC, you got to get PPC now is a ranking tool. So people talk about, oh, what's your ACOS? Is it proper? PPC is all about ranking. Trying to just focus on ACOS, it's a race to the bottom, because PPC so much impacts your ranking. Your thing is a ranking tool. You got to look at conversion. So look at how much it's converting. Make sure it's converting above your normal conversion rate, and focus on TACOs. Don't measure by ACOS. So TACOs is your total advertising cost of sale. They're the key 3 takeaways you got to look at. So definitely AMZScout for keyword volume. We just showed that before. That's super important. And then a bit of a pro tip: use your brand analytics and then match what AMZScout's showing against the top ones for brand registry. And that's why you want, brand analytics. That's why you want brand registry, because you actually find out the top terms that are converting. So you want to wash them. So you want to go into AMZScout from those top terms and wash it against your brand analytics. And we talked about before, so your top ranking terms, align it with your listing. And we highly recommend you go through single keyword ad campaigns. The reason you want single keyword is you can control it. If you're using a phrase abroad, you can't control the exact one. So phrase and broad is just for long tail keywords where you're not going to be ranking for. It's great to get a sale from it, but you need the single keyword ones so you can actually push up the ranking or down because you can actually control it. If you're using a phrase or a broad for a term, you up the bid, then it increases the bid for all those different variations of those keywords, and you want to rank for that specific keyword. So that's what you want to focus on primarily. Now, some of these things in terms of best practice, you need to measure this stuff. Tacos is your total advertising cost of sales. So advertising, ACOS is just your PPC over your PPC sales. Tacos is your PPC spend over your total sales. And this works across industries. So your tacos, highly recommend that you track this on a weekly basis. Tacos, best practice, you're under 10%. If you're establishing a brand name, so you're launching on Amazon, that's why I talk about these different phases so important. You can have up to 30 and 40%. So if you're on launch, you can have it much higher. If you're established brand, you can have up to 15%. And then mature household names, like if you're a big brand name, 5 to 10%. Because if you're Apple and you put out the keyword Apple iPad, people are just going to click through it. And that's why I say in these ones here, it's okay to have a high ACOS for your top 3 or 4 keywords. The reason I say that is you may have a high ACOS for, you know what we talked about before, like bacteria microscope. You could have a high ACOS for that. But what it does, if it's pushing you up the ranking and you're getting organic sales from it, then that's what you're after. So your goal is to get to up to 80% organic sales at the top. Most likely it's going to be between, that's like the highest. Most likely it's going to be probably around 60%. Anything higher than that, you're getting too much from organic. Anything lower, it's going to eat away your margin. So you want to, probably that sweet spot is 60 to 80% is from organic. So what you're going to use is those single keywords to push up the ranking. So that's why you want to use a keyword tracker from AMZScout we showed you before. You want to track those ones. And that's why you can have a higher ACOS for those ones if your ranking's going up. So it's super important to make sure your ranking's going up for those ones. So look, in terms of the PPC takeaway, focus on growth phase, focus on your listing on the niche as well. And then also look at ACOS is focused on the top PPC terms as well for your ranking. So that's a key one.